them start to play.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with the sultry jazz singing diva Joanne Weaver. She has been described as having smooth vocals and an unexpected spacey, electronically lush sound, and she has channeled that David Lynch vibe that is absolutely unmistakable. She has been swayed by acts like 07 and was turned on to jazz by Harry Connick Jr. Over the course of our conversation, she talked about all the inner workings of the timepiece that makes her move, along with what the future may just hold and many other little surprises. So please dig this interview, my friends.
Before we begin here, first of all, thank you for taking some time. And second of all, how the hell have you channeled that mysterious orb known as David Lynch in your music?
I don't know. How? That's a good question. I don't know. I always liked him so much. I always fancied myself one of these David Lynch, like Twin Peaks girls. Like Twin Peaks was popular. It was on the first time when I was in high school, which I'm kind of showing my age there a little bit. But I just loved it. There was something about it that I just really deeply reverberated in me. And I got this, like I really got him, but I didn't get it, which is so David Lynch, right? I got that I didn't get it. And I loved that. I loved not totally knowing what was going on at all times, and that there was so much symbolism and just this deep, juicy undercurrent of knowledge and wisdom and bizarreness. I don't know. How did we capture that? I think that mixed with trip-hop and sci-fi, which I kind of think of David Lynch as being in those areas, too.
Yeah.
I think it just all came together in a way that I'm just so happy with. And Andre Frado, the producer, he's very much one to thank for that, his vision and his ability to make these sounds, that were coming out of my head and then his head and they became our heads. And he's phenomenal. He gets it.
Yeah, that's the key. I think sometimes with David Lynch we're overthinking the whole thing, because I think I've tried to see. I've seen interviews where these late night guys will be like, "What in the hell are you talking about?" And he'll just kind of look over at him and like, "What do you mean? That's just it is what it is, you know."
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the one thing I did want to start off with, I usually try to find out what has been going on lately. I know Interstellar Songbook 2 is out. It's getting some great reviews. Talk to me a little bit about this album and the promotion and what has been going on as far as activity with you and your world.
Well, let's see. It just came out middle of June. I had a wonderful record release party for it at the Woolly, which is this private event space in the bottom of the Woolworth building. And I think the promotion that I did for it was, come down the rabbit hole with me. And it really was. You really feel like you've fallen down the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole and you've ended up in this wacky world with, the teacups and the bookcases and everything else that's fallen next to you. It just ends up at the same place. And so it's this really wacky space, beautiful little cozy space. So that was the kickoff. That was the first thing that really kind of got this thing on the road.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Packed house. Yeah, it was really cool. And I really felt like, that was actually the night of the performance was the first time I had done the whole thing live. I rehearsed it, bits and pieces. We had a few rehearsals with the band. I started kind of getting it together the last night. And that's so my modus operandi. Like, I just squeeze everything. Like, I do all the little logistic things and get ready. And then, like, the night before, 2 nights before, that's when I really just, like, focus. Like, it's just this laser focus. But yeah, it was really the first time that I really did the whole thing through was at the show, which was cool. I kind of like that, too. It's jumping off the cliff, and you don't know how it's going to go, and it's scary, but, I knew it well enough. The stuff is in my bones. Just from, playing it and rehearsing it and recording it. And, these songs are like, a lot of them are songs that I've sung for a long, long time. They're all classic, these American classic songbooks. Great. I think that was really special, and I think that's really what I'm excited for now and promoting it in the future and in the now, is that I really felt like this character, like I get into this character when I perform it, which is this intergalactic, alien space goddess, this kind of energy from a different place. You could call it like from David Lynch's Black Lodge, like from some otherworldly place. where the bizarre does make sense and the bizarre is the truth, and there's ultimate wisdom and ultimate knowledge, and I come down as this character that has that, and then I'm spreading this message of love and understanding and wisdom, and the album takes place over the course of it's a narrative of a love affair from the beginning to the end. So it's me telling the story through the narrative of this love affair. A lot of the stuff is going on in my head and it's going on stage. So I think if you listen to it front to back, you wouldn't necessarily get that from it. But yeah, so I really felt like I was able to bring this character to life, and by so doing, to bring these songs to life and to really deliver the message that I wanted to deliver, which was, really at the end of the day, love.
Right on. That's a great start. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the beginning of your lineage a little bit here. You grew up in Sunnyvale, California. Talk to me about what living there was like to give you this love of jazz and music and the way you present it to the world.
Well, it was a really suburban upbringing. I'm lucky. I mean, I had a pretty idyllic childhood. Mom was a dental hygienist. She still is. My father was an architect. My older sister and I were quite close. She's 2.5 years older than me. I took piano lessons at a young age and just, really loved playing classical music. And then my sister started getting into the Police really heavy and Sting. And so I used to play piano with her. Like, we'd do duets and I'd sing, or I'd just get lost on the piano. I just really had this very early love of music and just getting lost in music and just creating. And I was actually just talking with my boyfriend last night about, I knew so clearly when I was young that I wanted to be a composer, like a classical composer. And I had all these, big opuses and these huge pieces going through my head. And I'm like, oh God, how do I get it down? And so I think the music was definitely very much a part of me when I was younger. I think the jazz part came in from my uncle Ron, my mom's brother. And we call him lovingly Crusty Uncle Ron. And, he's curmudgeonly. He's a lovable curmudgeon. But he used to always say things like, oh, God, the stuff that you and your sister listen to is such crap. Like stuff we used to listen to when I was young. Like, that's the real stuff. And so he introduced, I think my gateway drug into jazz was Harry Connick Jr. And that was when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And, I think he chose Harry Connick. I mean, I think he liked Harry Connick himself, but, Harry Connick was a piano player and a singer and a crooner. And I think maybe Uncle Ron saw some connections between what I was doing and, what my potential could be. So he introduced, oh gosh, what was the name of that album? I can see the cover of it in my mind. Are you familiar with Harry Connick?
Oh, yeah.
At all?
Yeah.
We Are in Love, I think it was.
Yeah.
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 It was just him, like maybe in front of like a kind of pinkish, purplish background.
Yeah. I think that was it. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
We all have that moment with the albums, that kind of bring everything to light. Especially with jazz. Seems like it kind of parts the curtains a little bit.
Yeah. And Harry Connick and he really did part the curtain. That's a great way of saying it, because he was a jazz guy who was doing all these old classic jazz songs, but, he was a killer jazz piano player.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful voice. But he was, he was a crossover guy in a lot of ways, and maybe one of the first ones, if I'm remembering it correctly, at least from my generation. That like all the girls in school, I remember having this understanding that he was bigger than just jazz, because jazz seemed like it was, kind of something that your parents listened to, or it was a little elitist, or it was really heady, and, I kind of picture jazz as like, oh, it's all these crazy notes, and I'm supposed to sit here and say that it sounds great, like the Emperor's New Clothes, some of it was. And Harry Connick just made it so accessible, and it was kind of poppy, and he was cute, and he was young, and he was, kind of bringing it to this new generation. So I remember thinking like, this is great. And then I got into Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington, Peggy Lee. Uncle Ron just got me Peggy Lee's biography for Christmas last year. So he's very much still a proponent of, me doing the classics. So he thinks this kind of sci-fi stuff that I'm doing with it, the David Lynch, electronic undertone. He's like, I don't understand that stuff, but but he's glad that I'm doing the classics, and so am I. I mean, this is timeless stuff. I mean, I feel so lucky to be able to do this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, your sound, as it's described in your bio, silky smooth vocals with an unexpected, spacey, electronically lush sound. So there's a lot of adjectives and a lot of ways that your music has been described. Tell me what you are trying to say with your music.
It's a good question. I'm still trying to figure out how to put this in words, so I'm going to take a stab at it. I've been taking a stab at this for a while.
Okay.
Because I feel like going back to David Lynch, he's a constant in our conversation. I feel like some of the stuff that he's saying, or a lot of the stuff that he's saying, is beyond words. Like it's like this weird imagery, it's this weird Dada thing going on, and I think for me, it's the concept of the album was born out of a couple of different things. It was born out of me loving these old songs, wanting to hear them in a new way, in a way that I wanted to do them. I love trip hop, which was, as you may remember, was a genre that existed for maybe 3 years in the 90s, but I really got into it. I love that deep, like the minor tones, the macabre, the underbelly of things. I've always been really interested in. But I think that was the first impetus was, these beautiful, beautiful songs. What would happen if we did them in this like really different way, like the way that I would love to do them, and to make them new for the audience that knows them for a long time, but then also to introduce them to a new audience that maybe hasn't heard these songs before. But maybe the production of them and the package that they come in, which is electronic, modern, sort of Twin Peaksian package, like maybe that could be something that people could really relate to and find these songs, be lucky to find these songs for the first time. The other part of it was, and I think this is the message that I'm trying to put through, is, my father passed away in 2006, and, I'm kind of getting to the music thing a little later in life, and I think I've always pussyfooted around it. I mean, I moved to New York in 2001, ostensibly to follow a career in music, so I kind of dabbled with it when I first got here, but it wasn't until that moment where I said, oh my God, like my entire life just, flipped on its head. It was a punch to the stomach, man. I mean, in so many ways, and I think at the very base of it reminded me that we don't have tomorrow. We don't even have today. Like, nothing is guaranteed. And if we only get one shot at this, as my Aunt Tura, who was just staying with me, said, nobody's getting out of this alive. We got to enjoy every moment.
Yeah. And
that became so crystal clear to me. And that's the thing that, sparked me into actually doing it. Like, okay, enough is enough. Fuck it, let's go. And I think, so then the music itself is a way for me to communicate with my dad, or to communicate with people that have passed over. And, can any sounds that we're making, can the thoughts that we're making, can that pass over to the other side? And what does that other side look like? And so it's me trying to communicate and connect not only with my father specifically, but just with this collective unconscious, really, that we all are connected to, and, and just spreading this message of love and connection. And, I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think losing a parent is a magnanimous wake-up call to realize the temporal nature of everything that we deal with. And it's also a residual that everybody leaves behind. Every blade of grass is going to rotate in a different way, because we've all been here, I think, in its own way. So, and maybe you don't have tomorrow. So, so the one thing I did want to ask you is this. Twin Peaks is going through a reboot right now, and if you get a phone call from David Lynch, what are you going to do? If you're the one and he wants to get some new musicians, Baldemente is going to back you up, what are you going to say?
Oh my God. I think I'd fully embarrass myself and just start screaming for like 30 seconds. Just one long breath, one long scream, and just let it out. That would be probably the biggest thrill of my life. Maybe, and maybe even like doing the music, like being in that studio with all those guys. I mean, maybe that would be the biggest thrill, but I think just to get that call, no matter what may happen after that, just the fact that this could actually happen, like, yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. There was a contest years ago where you could eat at a highboy diner on Sunset, I believe, with him, and I think I put my name in the hat for that. And I was just thinking, if you had the chance to sit down with Lynch in his natural environment with a burger and a black cup of coffee, what that would be like. So.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So you sound like you're a David Lynch fan too.
Oh, I'm huge. Yeah, I kind of got into the Twin Peaks thing late, but I have always kind of been addicted to everything about him, from the films to the music to those wacky little daily weather reports he was put together. He's an artist and has really unique ways that he constructs all of his things with, like, weird larvae that he'll put that's alive on canvas and see how it interacts, and just everything. I mean, he is a total trip and a totally cool cat, Yeah.
So. Yeah. Wait, what are the weather reports? What was that?
Oh, that was back in like 08 or 09. He'd get down in his little bunker, and the sunshine was always spilling through his windows in LA because it never rained. He'd be like, it's David Lynch here. It looks like it's going to be 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and he'd do Celsius, and he'd have some snappy thing like, it's going to be another stupendously fantastic, unbelievable day in LA. And then he'd light a cigarette up, and the camera would go off. There was no fade in, no fade out, no cinematography, just him with some, like, old camera. And it was like, dude, you are a badass. But that was it. And he did it for, like, a year and a half, and it was kind of a part of his page that was the only thing that was free if you bought into it.
Oh, my God.
But yeah,
you do a good impression.
Thank you.
I was there.
I listened to him do that for so long, and it was always kind of the same derivative. It never, ever changed the temperature, maybe a degree up and down. It was like, dude, if you were in Connecticut or you were here in Kansas City, every single day, there's maybe a tornado tonight, there's going to be the clashing of the high and low jet stream, but he had nothing. It was just sunny, no clouds. Have a great day, you all. So that was it. I had no idea I could channel Lynch. I'm very happy right now.
So. You totally did. That was fantastic. Oh,
man alive. So,
shit.
So tell me a little bit about some of the upcoming gigs and promotion for your album. What's kind of in the immediacy for you?
This is all a work in progress, actually. I've gotten some nice reviews, some nice album reviews from various media outlets. D4AM just wrote about me the other day, and supposedly a couple more on the way. So I think that's, getting the word out there. As far as performance, I have another project that I do called the Joanne Weaver Trio.
Yeah.
And I would say that's more straight ahead jazz. It's a little tongue in cheek. Like we'll do, we're actually putting together a set of 80s metal hair songs. And we're calling it Twisted Spritzer. And so we're doing it in like this jazzy, kind of, super loungy way. So that's another project that I'm doing. So I have a couple of shows coming up there. I've got in New York. We've got August 8th at Toshi's Living Room from 8 to 11, I believe. 7 to 10 or 8 to 11. If you come between 8 and 10, you'll definitely catch us.
Nice.
And then we're going to be at the Flatiron Room. When I say we, I'm talking about Adonis Paris on guitar and Gabriel Riesco on cajon. And the three of us, the Joanne Weaver Trio, we played at the Flatiron Room, which is this very David Lynchian room.
Nice.
The red curtain. It's got that old-fashioned, like, Silencio type of microphone. So we had a residency there for almost a year and a half, every Friday night, 9 p.m. to 1. So we took a hiatus, but we're going to be back on October 23rd from 9 to 1. So we're back in our old haunts on that beautiful stage. So those are a couple things we have going. But as far as, touring Interstellar Songbook 1 and 2, that's in the works. I'd like to start touring locally. Been kind of thinking about maybe popping over to Asia at some point. These are all just swirling thoughts. These aren't promises, but they're just ideas that I have. Interesting to me anyway. I went I went on YouTube, on the YouTubes, and I saw that my last two music videos, which was for Sway and Golden Earrings, which are both off my last album, off of Interstellar Combo 2, they were most popular in Thailand and Vietnam.
Wow.
Like, by a large margin, too. Like, I think the United States was maybe, like, number 5, number 6, at a distant 5 or 6. Yeah. And I was like, wow, like, what's going on with that? And then on Facebook, like, I put a post up on my music page, and then I'm like, you know what, let me just boost this post for $5 and just see what happens if I boost it in, Bangkok and Thailand and Vietnam. And it would just be, like, this huge number of likes, and I'd go through all the people that were liking it. It'd be in Thai language, like a beautiful script, and I'm just parsing through all these people, and I'm like, wow, like, it's kind of like that Spinal Tap cliche, like, oh, you're huge in Japan, but maybe there's something there. I think that might be worth exploring. Some kind of, I'm thinking about that. I don't have any connections over there, so this is all kind of, I'd say it's in its nascence right now, but I really want to get this up on its feet and do shows of this, both 1 and 2, both albums.
Yeah, that's cool. To kind of staying on this nostalgic route of Asia and the world, we've delved into who you mentioned some big influences in the jazz world and who you dig. If you could get into a time machine and go to any place, any time, and see a musician perform live, who would it be and where would you go?
This is outside of jazz, but, as any creative person, or just probably any person, I mean, you have so many different influences.
Yeah.
I would probably go back to the late 60s and see Janis Joplin somewhere in California. I'm from California, and just to be part of that San Francisco hippie, Haight-Ashbury scene, and just, see the Summer of Love happening, and just to see Janis in all of her glory. I mean, that woman was just, she was unbridled. Killer voice. I think she had jazz influences too. I don't think, anybody escapes jazz. I think she was soul. She was, I think she was a classically trained opera singer. Is that correct? I think when she was young, I heard that.
Yeah, I think
about
so.
That? Yeah.
The wild child from McAllister, Texas. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that any musician, no matter what genre they're doing, jazz, soul, R&B, classical, even weird experimental stuff like Animal Collective, like Hooting and Hollering. I think if you're doing it with authenticity and you're doing it just completely honestly and full steam ahead and just letting it all out, like, that's what jazzes me.
Yeah.
I love that. Just go for it. Let it out. Like, yes. Like, the animal from the Dr. Keith band and the Muppets. Like, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Roar on, for sure.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
My influences that I get into, I saw your list, 07, Portishead, Florence and the Machine, and all the way up and down the line. I'm a huge fan. I mean, lately, Patrick Watson, a Montreal performer who's he just has so much going on, throws me into a tailspin. I love jazz, but I also have a huge reverence, and I think there's a resurgence for kind of what we call the indie scene. I think there's so many good musicians that are in this country that have come up and have been influenced. I mean, you're only as good as the shoulders of giants you stand on, and there's been plenty of them, and I don't see anything stopping the creative flow of music, not only in jazz, but in just music and unexplored realms, and people are kicking ass all over the place.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Wait, who was the guy that you mentioned in Montreal?
His name is Patrick Watson.
Okay.
He just released an album called Love Songs for Robots, and he is unbelievable. He's like Danny Elfman on steroids. I mean,
Ooh, nice.
He takes this kind of cinematic approach and has these layers, and he's literally one of the very few people that every single time I listen to his music, and I can listen to his album hundreds of times, there's a level of texture that goes through it that I will pick up on and beat on each time in a new way. I mean, it's unreal. And the first time you hear it, you're like, God, what's the big deal? I mean, kind of, but when you really start listening to it, his voice is unreal, you know. So he's a cat that you definitely should listen to.
Okay, right on. I'll check him out after our show.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Very cool. Let me ask you this: since we're kind of talking about genres and kind of getting into that, why do you love jazz?
For my own personal reasons, I think being introduced to it at a young age and just forming an appreciation for it. I think the more you know about something, the more you like it.
Yeah.
Just in general, you know, like case in point, I was a pre-med major at Berkeley undergrad, and everybody hated the dreaded organic chemistry, and you know, it was so hard. But I did it one summer just for a summer school, and I did nothing but OChem for that summer. And so I knew it really well, and then I really liked it. Like, you know, really surprised myself. And I think the more you can delve into anything and understand, you know, who is their influence, these jazz cats, like, you know, what's their story? What are they singing about? I think the more you know about them and just know more about the genre, I think you just tend to like it. So I think the fact that I got introduced to it at a pretty young age was good. You know, I had time to develop, you know, my likes and dislikes within the genre. You know, I think the torch songs, there's a whole Ella Fitzgerald album called Round Midnight, which is nothing but her torch songs. And I was in a sorority at Berkeley, and I was at the top room out there, and it would overlook the Bay Bridge, you know, the twinkling lights into San Francisco. And I used to put this album on, and I was hung up on this guy and, you know, this unrequited love situation. And I really got off on it. There was something about, like, being in this sense of, like, oh, bittersweet, and, oh, the love that can't be, and, oh, God, and life, and looking out these twinkling lights and having Ella Fitzgerald croon September Song was just one of the most seminal moments of my life. I mean, it's a small, little, quiet moment in time, really, but it was a hugely formative time for me and a formative moment in time for me. So I think the fact that it's, you know, these songs, I mean, just the lyrics, the writing of these things, it's just so profound. And a lot of it's very simple. It's not a lot of embellishment. It's not, you know, it's not going overboard or trying too hard. It's just these simple, straight-ahead songs with timeless lyrics that are beautifully constructed, beautifully written, that still hold up today. And, you know, I think a lot of modern music can still hold up in the future, too. I'm not saying that it just has to be jazz, but I think jazz, to me, it's timeless. Timeless. I think for me to put this futuristic spin on it, this futuristic sci-fi spin on it, it's like taking it into the future. It's like, okay, it's already been around for so long. It's already timeless. Like, you know, blasting it off into, you know, hundreds of years or thousands of years into the future, I think it's still timeless. I think these radio waves and the sound waves are still going to be reverberating off the corners of the universe, and where are they going to go? And I think it's still going to be, you know, relevant or heard or understood. Yeah.
What's interesting with that narrative you painted with the bridge and hearing the song is that, you know, not only is music that universal language, it's the one thing that can make us not feel alone with being alone, you know. So it's very interesting. And speaking of kind of being nostalgic like that and those kinds of moments, tell me, what's the greatest thing about waking up every day?
Oh, God, I mean, so many things. Usually I wake up to my cat curled up next to me, my cat Lucy.
Nice.
I feel so lucky to have this, you know, wonderful furry companion in my life. She just puts a smile on my face. I live in this beautiful place in Brooklyn in Park Slope. You know, so it's sunny in my room. Just, you know, just waking up and just experiencing that present moment it's such a gift, you know. And I think I'm really lucky. I mean, it's funny that we're having this conversation, because I think last night I was, you know, getting in this headspace of like, oh God, what am I doing with my life? And, you know, I have this day job. I have this recruiting business, but I also do the Joanne Weaver group, which I love. And it's helped me fund my music career. And actually, when I formed it in 2007, I made a solemn vow to myself that this is to fund my music. I can never lose sight of that, no matter how successful this thing might be. it's to, the thing is to support my music.
Yeah.
And so I feel incredibly lucky that I have, this lifestyle and this means. And, it's not that I hate my day job. I actually really, really like my day job. I feel extremely lucky that I like my day job.
Yeah.
And I love this thing that I've created. I've got a kick-ass business partner that I've worked with for 4 years, Rebecca Levy, who's a godsend. She's wonderful. We work so well together. We're almost psychic with each other. And, so the day-to-day, how I sustain myself in the city is, I feel incredibly lucky for. And then, just to know all these great musicians and be able to get out there and perform and, to be relatively young in the world. I mean, I feel young, and it's a good place to be. I love being a woman. I love being a woman. I have this whole thing I call my girl cave. It's my walk-in closet next to my bed. Actually, my friends used to live in this apartment. I took it over from them, and it used to be their baby's nursery. So it's a small room. And so I said, what can I do with this room? And I just painted the walls hot pink, and it's got a chandelier in there, and it's just this, tons of clothes and shoe racks, and I've got this vanity where I do my makeup, and this is, it's my beauty room. It's my transformation room. Like, that's where I go to, become this woman. I walk out of there feeling beautiful and just feminine, and I think that's the kind of message that I love giving when I'm at the Flatiron Room, because I'm in these, long gowns, and I'm singing these jazz songs, and I'm dancing, and I'm shaking my ass, and I'm not a skinny little thing. I'm not big, but I'm just, I have a woman's body, and I get so much appreciation. I get more appreciation for women at that show than I do for men, at least what they tell me.
Yeah.
And I love saying, like, I love helping women to seize the tool of permission for themselves of, like, yes, I feel beautiful, I feel wonderful, I feel feminine, I love being a woman. So I love that.
Right on. So let me ask you this, that you wrapped up a lot of things with that answer there that I was going to ask. So I have one final question for you. If we talk in 10 years from now, and I begin this in kind of the MC Escher kind of looking glass, saying what's been going on lately, what are you going to want to tell me? What's the first thing that's going to come to your mind that you're going to want to talk about?
I'm going to want to talk about my oh gosh, it's like it's a glimmer of an idea. So I'm trying to put it into words.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a big, fantastic show that I've composed and written and casted, and I'm starring in it. Maybe I'm starring in it. Maybe somebody else is starring in it. I love performing. So, okay, let's just say that I'm starring in it.
Cool.
And it's a totally new type of music. It's expressive of all the things that I want. It contains all the things that I want to express, all the learnings that I've had, all the things that I want to pass on to other people and share with other people. It's a totally new genre of music. It's groundbreaking. It's exciting. It's something people can really relate to. It's empowering to people, empowering to women, but empowering to people all over. It's touring globally. Maybe I'm living in somewhere in Europe, or I'm living in Asia. Maybe I split my time between here and New York, and, my family in Memphis. My sister and her family live in Memphis, and my mom in California. And that has become this kind of global, musical, creative woman of the world, creating something and creating a movement, creating something that people can really join and be a part of and get behind. And maybe it's solving a world issue. I was talking about this last night too. Like, I'm coming up on 40 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what do I want to leave behind? What is this all about? Like, what do I really want this to be for? What do I want to do to help the world vibrate at a slightly higher frequency in my own way? And I want this thing, whatever it is that I'm doing. And that's just one idea. Maybe it's something totally different. Maybe I've like run away and I've joined an ashram, and I'm like, in saffron robes, and I've shaved my head and I'm not speaking for 2 years. Like maybe that's maybe that's
it.
Only at the time. Maybe that's my way of helping the vibration of the world. But yeah, something where I'm leaving something behind, where I'm creating something for people that will help in some way. It's very nebulous, I realize, but
no, that's good. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen, so anything can happen. And that with that right there, that's a perfect way to end the interview.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take it easy.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over America, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Joanne for her wit, unique approach to music, and digging it all. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino on the iTunes Store, or visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things Neon Jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.